Welcome to this short video about the Seemo traffic simulator. Let's start by having a quick look at the simulator before we go more into detail. So the simulator basically consists of three windows. The first one is used for setting the parameters which can be changed throughout the simulation. The second one visualizes different statistics, such as travel times, emissions, and cost. And the third one shows the actual traffic simulation on real-world map data. We developed this traffic simulator in order to assess the performance of the Seemo transportation service. Seemo stands for Sustainable, Efficient and Electric Mobility and is a new concept for shared on-demand public transportation in urban areas. In case you have never heard about Seemo, we would like to refer to our previous video and to our crowdfunding website, where we explain Seemo in detail. But let's get back to the simulator. So, in this video we would like to demonstrate the performance of Seemo within this traffic simulator. We have already calibrated the simulator for the city of Lugano in Switzerland, and we have set the parameters to realistic values. More details about the parameters can be found in the description of this video. In the first scenario, which you can currently see, we have set the number of trips per hour to 8,000. All these trips are handled by private vehicles, so for the moment the Seemo service is not used. The statistics for this scenario look like this. In the top left corner you can see the average travel times. Due to the congestion, they are rather high, with around 850 seconds. In the top right corner we have the average cost per person, which are more or less €2.40. The bottom left corner shows the average emissions per person, which are around 1 kilo of CO2. Finally, in the bottom right corner we have the average distance per person, which is around 2,500 meters. What we are going to do now is to activate the Seemo transportation service and to monitor how the statistics are affected by that. We will still have 8,000 trips per hour, but this time only 2,000 are handled by private vehicles and the remaining 6,000 are handled by Seemo. First of all, the vehicles are visualized with two different colors here. As before, the red color is used for private vehicles and the green color is now used for Seemo vehicles. Looking at the simulation, you might notice that in this scenario there is much less traffic. Some of the main roads were highly congested in the first scenario, but now the traffic is very smooth. Let's check the statistics. First of all, we also have two different colors here. Again, the red color is used for private vehicles and the green color is used for Seemo. Here, the average travel times are around 560 seconds for private vehicles and 640 seconds for Seemo. It is kind of expected that the travel times for Seemo are a bit higher, since sharing the vehicle with other passengers inevitably leads to small detours and delays. But the interesting thing here is that both travel times are much lower compared to the 850 seconds from the first scenario. Let's have a look at the average cost per person. Instead of the €2.40 from the first scenario, the average cost per person dropped to €1.80 for private vehicles and further to €1.50 for Seemo. So although we have to pay for drivers, sharing the Seemo vehicles among multiple passengers leads to overall costs which are lower than for private vehicles. Regarding the average emissions per person, the situation is even better. In the first scenario we had 1 kilo of CO2 per person. Here the emissions are reduced to 800 grams of CO2 for private vehicles and further to 500 grams of CO2 for Seemo. Again, we can see the advantages of sharing the Seemo vehicles. For the average distance per person, the situation for private vehicles doesn't change with respect to the first scenario, since the routes are exactly the same. For Seemo, the average distance per person is reduced by more than 50% to 1,200 meters. The average distance per person is a very good indicator for the overall traffic, and the statistics confirm our visual impression that the traffic is more smooth in the second scenario. These results are amazing. Compared to private vehicles in the second scenario, Seemo requires just 14% more travel time, but reduces cost by 17%, emissions by 37%, and distances by 52%. On top of that, we have to keep in mind that the performance of private vehicles in the second scenario only improves over the first scenario because of Seemo. Without Seemo, the private vehicles would perform as bad as in the first scenario. Compared to the first scenario, Seemo reduces travel times by 25%, cost by 37%, emissions by 50%, and distances by 52%. But this is not all Seemo has to offer. There are many more advantages. Let's focus on two of the main advantages here: electric and autonomous vehicles. So far we have used conventional vehicles with combustion engines, since these are the predominant types of vehicles in today's traffic. Electric vehicles have many advantages over conventional vehicles, but they also have a few drawbacks. The main problem is that we would need to replace all existing vehicles with new electric ones. Apart from that, electric vehicles have a limited range and require frequent and cumbersome recharging. With Seemo, those drawbacks disappear. We only need a rather small amount of new electric vehicles in order to benefit from the advantages. Seemo also automatically takes care of the limited range and the recharging. In this way, we can benefit immediately and without huge investments from this awesome technology. Autonomous vehicles are another great technology, which will be ready in the near future. This technology would free us from the labor of driving. But like for electric vehicles, the main problem is that we would need to replace all existing vehicles. Again, with Seemo this is not a problem, since we only need a rather small amount of new vehicles in order to make use of the benefits of this technology. Let's have a look at how these two technologies would impact the performance of Seemo. As you can see, the average emissions per person and the average cost per person for Seemo are decreasing. Let's wait a bit for the full effect. The average emissions per person are reduced by about 90% compared to private vehicles, and the average cost per person are reduced by around 50%. Compared to the first scenario, Seemo could reduce emissions by a remarkable 92% and cost by 62%. This is how the overall performance of Seemo using electric and autonomous vehicles would look like with respect to private vehicles in scenario 2. And this would be the overall performance of Seemo using electric and autonomous vehicles with respect to scenario 1. Quite impressive. So let me summarize things. As shown in our research, in our simulations, and also in this demonstration here, Seemo is an amazing new concept for passenger transportation. Seemo combines the advantages of private vehicles with the advantages of public transportation and new technologies such as electric and autonomous vehicles. At the same time, the disadvantages of the single systems and technologies disappear. This makes Seemo an extremely efficient and flexible transportation service, which reduces emissions, traffic, and cost, while providing full mobility at the same time. All we have to do now is to realize Seemo in our cities. If you want to know more about Seemo, or if you want to support us, just contact us, check out our other videos, or have a look at our crowdfunding website. Thank you for watching.